Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is King Newsme. On my quest to find more wacky, goofy movies to talk about, I decided to look at some DCOMs. DCOMs, if you don't know, are like the Disney Channel original movies, and there's a lot of really goofy ones that don't get talked about very often. So I sat down on the couch with my girlfriend. We just scrolled through the Disney Plus catalog a little bit. We scrolled probably once and then saw Avalon High. Now, prior to this experience, I had never seen Avalon High, nor had I cared to watch it. It seemed very boring to me when I was a kid, and now that I'm an adult, I can confirm that it is very boring. It is boring, but quite wacky at the same time. Just to give you a little synopsis of what the movie's about before we get into it, our main character, Allie, moves to a new town and starts going to Avalon High. And slowly she starts noticing that her and her classmates are reincarnations of King Arthur and his court. Pretty wacky, right? I'd be okay with this retelling of the King Arthur story if they didn't mention King Arthur, if it was just like kind of like a modernized version of King Arthur. But in the movie, they know King Arthur exists and they learn about this prophecy and they have to follow the story like it's gospel. Like everything has to happen in order for him to save the world. And he barely does that. And let's just hop right into the movie. Actually, I lied right before we get into the movie. I want to thank you guys for 500 subs. I've been doing this for a little while now, and I just now found my place in YouTube. I feel like I like making this commentary content, and I'm so happy to see you guys like me making this content. I've gotten triple the subs I was getting when I was making the old content, which is hidden and nobody will ever see it ever again. So if you didn't see it, fuck you. Just kidding. I love you. Thank you guys so very much. The movie starts off with people riding on horseback. It looks like the beginning of a battle. We have King Arthur and Mordu's side. King Arthur is the side with the long blonde hair and the white horse, of course, because every good guy is blonde and has a white horse. But before we see any action, we just see like a white flash, and then we see our main character, Allie, laying in the sand. And then she wakes up from her dream. It was all a dream. You see, Allie moves around a lot because her parents are college professors and they teach in medieval literature. So they talk about things like King Arthur and Robin Hood so much that she dreams about them. And not only does she dream about them, she dreams like so intensely that she swears she is there. She can smell and feel all the stuff that's going on around her like she had lived it before. So Allie is moved to this new house and going to a new school. Her and her family move around so much that she's given up on making friends or like trying out for any sports teams. She's really into track, but she's never gotten to be on a track team. So she's kind of lost hope in making friends, and she thinks that they're going to move away in 3 months anyway, so who cares? That's when she gets the great news that she's going to be going to Avalon High for the rest of her high school career. Her parents signed a 3-year contract with this college, so she'll be able to finish out high school at Avalon High. She can try out for the track team and make new friends. And this makes her so excited that she just has to run forever. It looks like she runs through her whole city. Like we see her start at the house and then she ends up at like a college campus. She runs like forever. There's maybe a minute and a half of her just running. Right when she gets finished running, she goes to a water fountain, and that's when we meet another important character, Will Wagner. Will Wagner, he's like the popular kid, captain of the football team. He's very smart, very handsome. Everybody's jealous of Will Wagner, and he's also very nice. He lets Allie get a drink of water first, and as she's drinking the water, she has this flashback. She has these like weird flashback visions of medieval times. Like sometimes it's like when they're playing football, she pictures them sword fighting and like killing each other. But in this sequence, they just share a drink of water under a waterfall. But these visions happen so much throughout the movie that I'm not going to point out every single time. Sometimes they don't even make sense. It'll be like just dudes walking down a hallway and she'll picture them as knights. And I think it's just like something to keep the movie going, I guess, or something to fill in time. Allie's first day of school, right when she walks in the door, we get to meet 2 more important characters. It's Marco and Miles. Now I'm going to remind you, every person in this movie is a parallel to somebody that was in King Arthur's court. I'm not going to say who is who. I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out as I talk about the movie anyways. They make it quite obvious who is who. But Marco is the bad guy of the movie. He is Will Wagner's stepbrother, and they don't like each other, and they always fight. And Marco is just a jerk for no reason. He's just like a typical bully. He's just mean to be mean. And he like actively tries to sabotage Will. Now Miles is different. Miles is the snarky, nerdy kid that every movie seems to have. He's so annoying. He's a social reject by choice. Like people try to be nice to him all the time and he just blows them off and he says some rude shit to him every time.
Hey, what? See, people hate me.
Then he's like, everybody hates me. No one likes me. People try to be your friend throughout the whole movie and you just blow them off like he's annoying. Very annoying. I can't stand him sometimes. But another important thing you need to know about Miles is he can see into the future. So he's the only one that has some sort of powers, and he's the only one that's nerdy and stuff. So I wonder who he parallels in the movie. Miles. Miles and Merliles. It's pretty obvious who Miles parallels. It's Merlin. Miles is Merlin. Merlin's a wizard. So, you know, wizards are automatically nerds. Miles is a nerd. Wizard nerd. There you go. Anyways, Marco is bullying Miles because he's a bully. And Miles is being snarky and trying to be funny, but he's not funny or cute at all. But, you know, they're doing this just so you can get a grasp of their personalities. Miles is the nerd, so he gets bullied by the bully. The bully is the bully, so he bullies the nerd. Very simple stuff. Miles says a bunch of snarky, dumb shit and like, oh, you're too stupid. You bully me because you're stupid, you fucking idiot. That's pretty much how it goes. Right before he gets shoved into a locker, he gets saved by Will Wagner. When Will comes into the door, they do this dramatic thing where it's like glowing light. He's like Jesus Christ himself coming through the door to save the day. But Will breaks up the fight and tells Marco to run off. Marco runs away, and then Will sees Allie at the end of the hallway. She kind of like gets nervous and runs away, and he runs around the corner and introduces himself properly because they didn't get to really introduce themselves earlier. And they just start talking about her. She does the typical, you know, I'm nervous because I'm talking to a cute boy thing.
So, are you on the track team? You know, because of the running in the park, or maybe you just like running. I love running. Wow. Did I just say running like 4 times?
Oh no, I've already said that word, haven't I? Oh, I'm so quirky and weird. Anyways, they introduce each other and they start becoming friends. She complains how she's never really had friends before. And Will's like, well, I'll be your first friend. Then they get interrupted by Will's girlfriend. Of course, he's a handsome boy, captain of a football team. He's gonna have a girlfriend. His girlfriend's name is Jen. He introduces her to Allie. Allie obviously gets a little jealous because her man's that wasn't her man's is taken by a girl that he's been dating for a long time. And then we meet another important character, Lance. I wonder who Lance is gonna parallel in the King Arthur story. Lance is Will's best friend and also somebody else's lover. Look at these. Look at them looking at each other right there. Ooh. Conflict. Lance is like typical best friend. Don't need to know much about him. The bell rings and interrupts their conversation, and they ask what's her first class, and she says European history with Mr. Moore. Conveniently, they all have that class. So they go to class and we get to meet yet another important character, Mr. Moore. So many important characters, a lot of people to keep up with. Mr. Moore is, you know, the typical cool history English teacher. He's a good snarky, unlike fucking Miles. He knows how to clap back at the students. He's funny. He's really chill. If you don't believe me about Will Wagner being the perfect boy, which I'm sure you did already because I am a reliable source, here's Mr. Moore talking about how great Will Wagner is.
Class president, homecoming king, straight A student, and he's polite. If only I had an entire class full of Will Wagners.
He likes Allie automatically because her parents teach medieval literature, which is one of his favorite things to teach. And coincidentally, they're learning about King Arthur this semester, and they're learning about him from a book that her parents wrote. They start calling her Easy A because I don't think they've seen the actual movie Easy A. That is not the same, but just because her parents wrote the book, she obviously will know everything about it. So Allie sits next to Miles, and he starts being himself. I hate Miles. He's just annoying. She sits next to him. He's like, oh, you better not do that. You're gonna ruin your chances of being friends with the popular kids. And then she's like, okay, I don't care. You already had a good start. You should with the popular kids over there. I saw you talking to them. If you start talking to me, they're gonna stop talking to you, and then you're gonna be a nerd. You wanna be a nerd? You wanna be a little crybaby poopy pants nerd? She says the right thing, which is,
I can be friends with whoever I want, including you.
very true. Smart Allie. But he starts doing his little being a jerk to everybody thing to her, so she will go away. But that doesn't last very long because they get partnered up to be a part of a project about King Arthur. For this project, each person in class has to get a certain part of the King Arthur history. Conveniently, Will picks out the sports of Camelot, which is, you know, football team captain. Makes sense for him. But his girlfriend Jen and his best friend Lance, who are partners, they get the love triangle of King Arthur and Guinevere and Lancelot. It's a little on the nose, don't you think? Anyways, Allie and Miles, they get the Order of the Bear. And it's weird because Allie doesn't know what the Order of the Bear is, even though her parents literally tell her everything and talk about King Arthur all the time. Like, they don't shut up about King Arthur. They have hundreds and hundreds of books about King Arthur and all these things. Like, whenever they were moving out doing the moving scene, there were just hundreds of books loading the fucking house up. Like, I don't understand how she doesn't know what this is. After they pick out the paper for Order of the Bear, we get to see Miles' first, like, glimpse into the future. It's nothing special. It's when Allie's trying out for track, her shoe is untied, and he tells her to tie her shoe. Riveting stuff, I know. I'm gonna keep this one short because the next scene, it doesn't really matter, but it's just goofy. I don't understand it. So, Allie's trying out for track. She's at the end of the starting line. She's the very last one to get going. She's behind everybody the whole time, the whole race. And then right at the end, she you know, kicks it into gear and runs in front of everybody, you know, gets first place. She obviously makes the team from this, but they start complimenting that she almost beat the school record, but so did everyone else. They weren't very far behind her. They were like maybe a step behind her. So why they like single her out, and they're like, you did a great job, Allie. You're the one who did good. No one else did good. Only you. You're the only one that did great. Good job. And then they pick like 2 other girls to be part of the track team. Even this girl beside her, after she's done running, is giving her the side eye like she's fucking pissed at her. She's like, I was 1 step behind her. What the, why? Why is she getting all the praise? Well, it's fucking stupid. After tryouts, Allie goes back home and starts bragging about her accomplishment when somebody knocks at the door. It's Miles. Miles is already at her house ready to do the project because he's a nerd. He also uses the word dilly-dally unironically.
I don't like to dilly-dally. Do I want to do this or not?
Which cements him even deeper in hell. So apparently the paper is due in 3 weeks, but he wants to go ahead and get it done as fast as possible. So they start working on it immediately. As they're searching through all the hundreds and hundreds of books that her parents have, they can't find anything to do with the Order of the Bear, which is very weird. Miles is just like, let's just ask your parents about the Order of the Bear. And then Allie's like, no, if they find out I'm doing a King Arthur paper, they're never going to leave me alone about it. After a little while, they finally just ask her parents, which they seem very excited to tell them. Like this is like a big deal for them. And apparently Allie has never heard of this because they keep the only book about the Order of the Bear locked in a secret compartment in a velvet case in a bookshelf. The most over-the-top shit just for a single book. You guys have hundreds of books. I'm sure she wouldn't find it if it was just in one of the books. I guarantee you she wouldn't find it if it was in one of the books. So the Order of the Bear is a group of people that believe one day King Arthur will come back, be reincarnated to bring the world out of darkness, which her dad believes is a metaphor that something big is going to happen one day. But her mom believes that King Arthur is literally going to come back and save the world. It even goes to them knocking each other a little bit, where her dad is like, her mom's a little crazy, a little cuckoo.
It's no joke, Allie. A lot of people take this very seriously.
Some more seriously than others.
So the purpose of the Order of the Bear is to find the reincarnation of King Arthur before this happens, and find the reincarnation of Mordu, which is the bad guy in King Arthur, and take out Mordu before he can do any bad, so the reincarnation of King Arthur doesn't have to do anything. What is the purpose of King Arthur then? If you're just gonna take him out before he can do anything, then why is it so important? I don't understand it. Maybe I'm reading it wrong or hearing it wrong. I don't know. That's what I took from it. But if they don't find King Arthur and Mordu in time, it'll bring down depression and all this bad stuff, you know, Dark Age stuff, you know, like starvation, bad things that they had to deal with. But, you know, they just connect it to high school.
Ignorance, humiliation, suffering.
High school.
Because, you know, high school's just the worst place to be. I sound like an adult. Oh, no. But like I said earlier, her mom takes this theory and the Order of the Bear very seriously. Suspiciously seriously. So Allie gets pretty invested in reading about the Order of the Bear, and she starts even reading it like late at night when she should be asleep, and she turns the page and notices that Camelot looked suspiciously... That was 2 videos in a row where that has happened. It's great. It's very cool. She notices that Camelot looks suspiciously like Avalon High. Kind of weird. So the next day at school, Allie goes up to Mr. Moore and starts talking about the Order of the Bear. Turns out Mr. Moore also believes that the reincarnation thing is true, and he's also a wacko. But this is important for later on in the story, because Mr. Moore is really important, and you don't know why yet, but I know. So I'm going to keep this from you, gatekeeping, until the end of the video. So you have to keep watching the video if you're want to know what happens with Mr. Moore. She lends Mr. Moore the book of the Order of the Bear and just lets him read through it, and people think she's trying to get brownie points from him, but really I think she's just being a nice person, and he seems interested in the Order of the Bear and wants to read it. Let him read it. It's fine. I don't see why it's a big problem. After she lends him the book, Marco gives her like this stank eye in the hallway. Suspicious stank eye. I don't know why. I actually do know why, but I'm gatekeeping it. After she hands him the book, she starts walking away. She's talking to Miles. They're gonna head to the cafeteria to get some lunch. On the way to the cafeteria, Allie spots something very weird going on in the stairwell. She spots Jin and Lance getting pretty touchy and close in the stairwell. Little too close for my liking. Is it just me, or does like every high school have that one couple that just does everything under the sun under the staircase? We had multiple, actually. It was not fun. I actually even had one in elementary school. They weren't doing the nasty stuff. They were just kissing because they didn't know what the other stuff was. But still, that's kind of Weird. Anyways, not only did she catch them, they caught her catching them. So now they know that there's a little issue going on. They also know that Allie is friends with Will, so that's causing a little tension throughout the movie. Tension! After she sees them in the stairwell, she has to go for a run to clear her mind, and she actually finds Will in the middle of the woods, under a tree. Very odd spot to find him. She stops and starts talking to Will because, you know, she's a nice person. He starts talking about how people run past this part of the forest, how it's actually really pretty and peaceful over here. She's like, football players don't talk like that. You're not a real football player. And then he's like, I wish people would stop doing that to me. Stop just only wanting to talk about football to me. I'm more than just a football player. And she's like, okay, what do you want to talk about? And he's like, I don't know. It's like exactly what happens. So anyways, after their little talk right there, she invites him for some hamburgers. Nothing important happens there. But he then invites her to a party at his house. After the big football game win, they go to Will's party and Allie brings Miles with her. Miles is a jerk for some reason. A dude walks by and says, hey. And then he's just like, what? Like, look at this.
Hey, what? See, people hate me.
He's so aggressive and so defensive for no reason at all. No reason to be so uptight, buddy. Anyways, a few more things happen that are a little important. Marco is being a jerk again. He puts fake bugs in the food. But Allie catches Lance and Jen making out again in the bathroom. The second time. How does Will just not catch them ever? They leave doors open. They do it in the middle of a hallway where everybody can see them. How has he not caught them cheating on it? After she catches them the second time, she runs down the stairs and she's gonna go confront Will about it, tell Will about it. Jen stops her and is like, I still love Will. Will, I will always love Will. It's just not the right time to tell him. I'm sure the right time to tell him was when it was starting to happen. They don't want to hurt Will's feelings, but if somebody else tells him, it'll hurt his feelings even more. But if they tell him, maybe it'll be better. But they're not going to tell him because they don't want to hurt his feelings. So it's an endless loop of freaking stupid. Anyways, in order to just not tell Will, Allie just stops talking to him altogether, which is also not a smart thing to do. She leaves the party abruptly and causes Will to kind of question what's going on, but he doesn't really ask questions, and then it just skips to the next day at school. Will asks her why she left so early, and he was like, did you not have fun? And she looks up and sees Jen and Lance standing beside him. And she was like, I was getting a little sick, so I went home. But yeah, it's just causing tension between all of them now. They're all kind of losing grip with each other's friendships and stuff. I don't know if that was the correct way to say that. That was kind of odd. And in class, after they just had a conversation, they're all staring at Allie. Like, Lance is like looking back at her. Jen is turned around looking at her. And even Marco is looking at her, staring at her. They're all making her feel uncomfortable. I guess so she won't tell Will. And Miles once again says some dumb shit that makes me mad. Mr. Moore gives her the book back and he's like, really riveting stuff. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for letting me borrow it. And then Miles is like, you can't get more than an A at this school. No need to kiss up to his ass. Shut the fuck up. She's just trying to be a nice person. Anyways, after class, she runs to her locker and then Marco's like, I know what you're doing. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, I know that you know that Lance and Jen are together, but you can't tell Will because that'll ruin everything. So don't tell Will. Next important scene is a football game, believe it or not. They're doing this football game. They're about to win. Jen is like the head cheerleader, of course. As she's cheering for Will, she has eyes on Lance. And this causes Lance to go into like a daze or something. He's just standing straight up on the football field, staring at her. That's not obvious at all. The play starts. He doesn't block Will and he gets Will hurt. And then this causes a little bit of an argument between the two. After the game, Will just sits there for a long time. They lost the game, so he was a little upset, but he sat there's like nobody in the bleachers, nobody on the field, nobody anywhere. He's just sitting there in his dirty football outfit. But Allie shows up and she's going to tell him about the cheating stuff that's been going on. But before she can say anything, she gets interrupted by Marco. And not even just like a cool looking Marco. He's standing back there like the mama threw up meme. I flew up. Mama, Will, I flew up. Can you help me? Anyways, he's there because Will has to take him home. After that, Allie's at home reading a book when Miles pulls up and he's like, you're in trouble. You need my help. And she's like, no, I don't. I'm just reading. And she starts putting the puzzle pieces together. See, this whole time he's been like telling her things that don't make sense. Like at the beginning of the movie, he told her she needs to tie her shoe for track practice. Later on in the movie, right before Will got hurt by Lance, he pictured it and was like, oh, that's going to hurt. So she starts catching on that something's not right with him. She's like, it's almost like you're psychic. And then he's like, don't say that word. So apparently him being psychic is the reason why he's such a jerk to everybody. He claims he's already a nerd and already doesn't have very many friends. So him being a psychic and being even more different is going to make him even more weird and more of an outcast. But this doesn't excuse him for being a jerk to everybody. I just want to point that out. You can still be a nice person and just not tell people you're a psychic. What you think about that? you think about that, Miles? Anyways, he told her that he pictured her and him inside reading a book. Apparently, the Order of the Bear had a secret page that nobody knows about. When they find this secret page and they open it, they start reading that King Arthur's going to return on a night where there's a lunar eclipse and a meteor shower at the same time. And to me, I don't know why, when I read that, I was like, so does that mean he's going to be born that night? Because if so, why does the Order of the Bear just wait for that and then start looking for him? Apparently, he's just going to come back for one night. So that's not a reincarnation. That's just like a one-night return of like the spirit of King Arthur. But that happens to be the night of the big game. That's a big deal, because what if somebody who we've been talking about this whole time, that is the perfect person, who is the captain of the football team and makes straight A's and the president of the school, and he's just the perfect person. What if he is King Arthur? He's the perfect fit for King Arthur. What do we have to do? We have to do something to fix this. So they do some pretty wacky stuff to try to get around it. Basically, they have to find out who King Arthur is before Mordred does, the reincarnation of Mordred. Because if Mordred finds out who he is, then they can just kill him. And then easy goes it, you know. Bye-bye King Arthur, bring in the Dark Ages. Allie starts asking her parents questions about, you know, Mordred. How would they figure out who Mordred is so they can stop Mordred before Mordred stops King Arthur? And the parents are like, Mordred is just the person that was there to stop King Arthur. He has to cause tension between King Arthur and his court in order to make him lose faith in humanity and him not save the world. And then they mention Will Wagner, like maybe Will is King Arthur. And then the dad's like, Will can't be King Arthur unless he has an evil stepbrother. It's a little on the nose, don't you think? They believe Will is King Arthur and Marco is Mordred. So they're going to try to stop Mordred before he can stop Will. That's why Marco doesn't want Allie telling Will that Jen is cheating on him with Lance. But Allie was trying to keep this all a secret from her parents, but accidentally let it slip that she thinks Will is King Arthur. It turns out her mom also thinks Will is King Arthur. Her mom has been on the search. So apparently her mom is part of the Order of the Bear, that or she wants to be part of the Order of the Bear, but she has a theory that Will is King Arthur. And that's why they went to Avalon High, and that's why she's there, and that's why the whole plan is working out just as they planned it. The next day in class, they have a big test on King Arthur, the last test of the season. The semester. Right before the test, Allie walks in and Marco walks in behind her and says something snarky. I don't remember what it was. She starts like just making innuendos that she knows he's Mordred. Right? And he just seems confused every time she says something like that. Like I think the first time she was like, "You're just jealous. Then again, you've been jealous for centuries." And he's like, fuck? What are you talking about? They're taking the test when Mr. Moore spots a sticky note at the bottom of Will's shoe. And apparently Will didn't even know it was there, because when he asked what's on the bottom of your shoe, Will very curiously picked it up and didn't even really look at it, just handed it to him. He didn't care what it was. And Mr. Moore was like, "Oh, this is a cheat sheet. So you've been cheating, huh? You're a little cheater boy. That's how you're so smart. You're a cheater." But if you think about it, if he was cheating, why would he just hand it over so willingly? If I was cheating and I had the cheat sheet on the bottom of my shoe, he'd be like, "What's on the bottom of your shoe?" And I'd be like, "Nothing. Just look at the wrong shoe. The other shoe. Nothing." It's a bad cheating strat, even if he was cheating. But apparently he wasn't cheating. But somebody planted that at the bottom of his foot. I think it was little elf boys. Little elf boys planted the cheat sheet because they want King Arthur to die. I know how this movie's gonna work. After a little convincing that he didn't cheat, Mr. Moore lets him go ahead and take the test because he has a spotless record. He's captain of the football team and they really need him for Friday's game. So he gets to take the test, but this makes everybody mad. Even his own football team, where they kind of pick on him a little bit for cheating. You know, they have the cheat sheet under their shoe. One kid is just a jerk and he throws a football at the track team. And Will's like, "Hey, don't do that. Don't be a jerk." And then the dude's like, "Well, maybe we need a team captain that doesn't cheat on the test. Why do you care so much, you nerd? What is wrong with you?" I just thought it was weird how mean they were to him just for not even cheating. After practice, Allie runs into Mr. Moore and she starts telling him about the prophecy that is coming true and it's going to be next Friday. And while she's telling him who she thinks is who, he already knows that if anybody at the school was going to be King Arthur, it would be Will Wagner. And so she asked if he would help her protect Will from Mordred. And then he was like, "I guess you have thoughts on who you think Mordred is as well?" And then she was like, "Isn't it obvious?" And then he's like, "Guess so." So Mr. Moore knows something Allie doesn't. Mr. Moore might want to be a part of the Order of the Bear as well. There's fanboys apparently, like her mom. Her mom just knew it was Will Wagner. Mr. Moore now knows it's just Will Wagner. So how do they know? How much research do these people go through, these nerds? Anyways, he's going to help her protect Will. Now the next scene, on the way to the big game, Will spots Lance and Jen in Lance's truck cuddling, getting a little too close. Obviously this pisses him off, so he just gets back in his Jeep and drives away. He's not going to the game, all thanks to Lance. Allie, Mr. Moore, and Marco saw Will see them cheating, so now they're all a little worried about him. Also, when Will drives off, they do a whole scene where Allie's running after him when he's driving away, but they focused on her for a little too long. She like ran all the way down the road. All right, good. Just keep going. Keep running. Yep, doing good. Just keep coming towards the camera. Keep coming. Yeah, keep on coming and cut. But when Will drove off, Allie knew exactly where to look for him, so she runs to the tree that she found him at earlier in the movie. And as she's running to the tree, she's followed by a mysterious hooded figure. Wonder who that could be. The hooded figure pushes her down this hill, but luckily she's fine and Will helps her up. Jin gets up and then she starts spewing this shit at him that he's King Arthur, he has to follow his destiny, and he's like, I think you hit your head a little too hard. I think you need to go to the hospital. But after a little bit more talking, he starts kind of believing her a little bit. He's like, you're right, my situation is kind of like King Arthur's. I can't let my football team down. I'm gonna go play in the big game. But he does give her a little smooch at the end of it, which is a good little touch to the scene. Will makes it back to the football field, gets ready for a play, but as they're getting ready for the play, they turn the stadium lights off and people look up at the lunar eclipse and the meteor shower that happened at the same time. So maybe the theory is right. The meteor shower is happening. Maybe King Arthur is coming back right now. Anyways, they do their play and the same jerk from earlier lets Will get tackled because he wasn't there for the team earlier. This dude is super annoying. He doesn't even have a character name or anything. He's just annoying as hell. He's useless to the movie. Anyways, after that one play, it's now halftime. So they go back to the locker room and Will and Lance have a little heart-to-heart brother talk right there. Lance apologizes for what he did. He did it the whole wrong way and he feels really bad about it. And Will's like, honestly, bro, me and Jin haven't been close in a long time. So if you guys are happy together, then I'm happy for you guys to be together. Just bro talk. That's usually how things probably would go, that or they wouldn't ever talk to each other ever again. After that little scene, Will goes outside and then he goes down and talks to Allie. But then he realizes, oh shit, I forgot my football helmet. Let me go grab it. And then he runs up the stairs and then maybe 5 seconds pass by and then they're like, where's Will? We need Will right now. And for some reason they come to Allie and ask Allie where Will is. Like she would know. She's like, he wouldn't get his helmet. I don't know where he's not now. But then they send Allie and Miles to go look for Will. I don't know why they didn't send like somebody, a coach or somebody to go look for him, you know, somebody with authority. They go into the boys football locker room and they don't see him there. Then they use Miles's little supernatural powers to look into the future and he sees Will getting shoved into the school theater by Marco. So now they run to the school theater. They pull up to the theater to see Marco outside of the theater on the ground like grunting in pain. Marco doesn't say anything and then they hear Will get shoved down inside. So they run inside the theater. They see Will on stage and they run up to him. They're like, Will, what did Marco do? What is he doing to you? And then Will's like, Marco didn't do anything. Marco was trying to stop me. Marco was trying to warn me. Turns out Marco's not the villain of the movie. You know who is the villain of the movie? Mr. Moore is the villain of the movie. Actually, kind of a good twist. I did not see that coming when I was watching it. I was like, oh shit. So it's a pretty good twist. I didn't expect it. Like he was like the nice teacher everybody likes. Who would expect that? No, not me, that's for sure. Or Mr. Moore gives his evil monologue. He talked to Allie about how she was right about everything except for one thing. Marco isn't Mordred. Mr. Moore is Mordred. And then he like lifts up his staff to like, I guess, beat the shit out of Will. I don't know. But before he could do anything, Marco shoves him down into the percussion pit. But I know that shit had to hurt. I played drums for a long time and I have fallen on drums. It doesn't feel good, I can tell you that. But it turns out Marco is part of the Order of the Bear. His dad passed it down to him to protect Will from Mordred. So that's what he's been doing this whole time. I guess trying to keep everything away from him, keep Will ignorant from all the things is what his plan was, to keep him happy so nothing bad would happen, but that didn't go as planned apparently. The hooded figure in the woods was Mr. Moore. All this stuff was Mr. Moore the whole time. Pretty crazy stuff. But as Marco is explaining the Order of the Bear stuff to everybody, Mr. Moore grabs his staff, grabs his cane, which turns into a staff and gives him a full suit of armor and long, beautiful hair. It's the weirdest part of this movie. I don't understand it, but this staff has just like amazing powers where he doesn't have to touch anybody. He can send energy blasts at them to knock them back. He has this force field around him this whole time, and like nobody can really touch him. He's like pretty much invincible. Just like the story of King Arthur, any sword King Arthur touches will turn into Excalibur. So Allie's like, we need to give Will a sword. So she runs, and they already have like the Sword in the Stone set up. She runs and picks up the sword, and right before Mr. Moore is gonna like, kill Will Wagner, she stands in front of him, and the sword turns into Excalibur. But Will's not holding it. Allie's holding it. Allie is King Arthur. Double twist ending. Except for that one is kind of stupid, and I'll explain why later. The CGI in this movie isn't that bad. The only part I'm going to complain about is when the foam sword was turning into Excalibur. It looked a little goofy to me. I can't explain why. It just looks a little goofy to me. Hello, I'm an idiot and did not notice the mic got unplugged. So this is the next day. I'm also going to be doing this from memory. So if it's bad, I'm sorry. After the sword turns into Excalibur, they just all get sent back in time to the fight that was at the beginning of the movie. And everyone's there, even people that weren't in the theater with them, like Lance. Lance was on the football field. He somehow pops up and appears inside this battle. But for this to be a Disney Channel movie, choreographed fight scenes, pretty good. They used a little bit too much slow-mo for my liking. Somehow, Allie just knows that the staff belongs to Merlin, so she tells Miles that it's his staff. Then Miles just knows a spell to bring the staff back to his hand.
To the owner of the staff return the evil hand that holds it burned.
They never, it would have been like a cool callback if like he was like reading the line or something earlier in the movie when he was like, oh, did you know Merlin had a staff that Mordo took? No, that doesn't happen. It just happens randomly. They defeat Mordo and they get teleported back to the theater. And right when they get teleported back, a security guard catches them in the act and Mr. Moore's laying on the ground. She has the foam sword pointed at him. Or it's not foam anymore, it's Excalibur. But security guard runs in and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? This place is closed. The kids have a very good excuse. Like, oh, we're looking for a costume for the football game. Great excuse. Mr. Moore, on the other hand, is a little stupid.
Officer, arrest that girl. She brought a weapon to school, threatened the life of a school teacher.
I'm sorry, sir. You saying this girl was threatening you with a plastic sword?
No, you oaf. With a real sword. All right, no, this is a plastic sword, but it was a real sword.
But anyways, after that whole debacle, they go back to the field. Will makes one play. It's like the big game, and he was there for one play before halftime. Got tackled, got hurt, went to halftime, disappeared after halftime, makes one more play, they win the game, and somehow he's the king of the team. Like, he did anything. He made one good throw at the end of the game, but they had to be close enough in points for them to just make one touchdown to win. So they could have done it without him, right? I'm not crazy when I say that. But they lift him up and they treat him like the king, and they make innuendos how Allie's actually the king. They should be lifting her up. And then she's like, I don't care. It's okay. Another thing that makes me a little sad about this is her mom was so excited about the reincarnation of King Arthur. Then she still thinks Will is the reincarnation. She doesn't know her daughter is the reincarnation of King Arthur. And they don't tell her either. I feel like that would have been a sweet scene. She probably would have been very happy to know her daughter was King Arthur, but they don't tell her. That made me mad. I don't know why they would just keep that from her like it's a big deal. After that, the movie ends with Allie's gathering everybody around this lunch table. And then they basically just remake the famous King Arthur round table picture, you know, where they have the swords in the middle. That's what they recreate. The movie ends there. Now, I'm going to tell you why Allie being King Arthur is a bad thing. And no, I don't care that it's a girl. I don't care that the girl is King Arthur. Who gives a fuck about that? Mr. Moore does, apparently.
King Arthur can't be a girl.
And yet here we are.
But Will went through all the shit to be King Arthur for Allie to get the glory of being King Arthur. Does that make sense? I mean, when I was talking about it with my girlfriend, I did mention that at the beginning of the movie, she had lost hope in making friends. She kept moving around a lot. She didn't get cheated on. He didn't get bullied. He went through all this shit just for her to be the king. It doesn't make sense. If anything, they should have made her go through all this shit. Maybe let's do like her and Jin become best friends. And then Will and her become boyfriend and girlfriend. He starts cheating on her with Jin. That's another way to work around it. There you go. Easy dub. But no, they twisted the story a little bit, I guess, for King Arthur. It just didn't make sense that she was King Arthur. She did nothing to be King Arthur besides figure out Will is not King Arthur. I don't know. It made me mad. Yeah, that was Avalon High. It's on Disney Plus if you want to check it out for yourself. It's not a very bad movie. It's a nice watch. Just sit down and watch it for like one time. But when you start watching it multiple times like I had to, it does get a little boring. I give it like a 6 out of 10. It's not the worst movie in the world. It's not interesting. There's a lot of plot holes and a lot of things that I didn't even talk about that really don't matter in the story. I want to thank you guys once again for 500 subs. I've been doing this a while, like I said, and I really appreciate every single one of you guys. Subscribe if you want to subscribe, like if you like the video, comment down below a movie you want to see me review or talk about. All right, thank you for watching the video. I love you all, and peace.